Our guest this morning is already with us virtually. He's a retired military officer with vast experience in internal security and election operations. He is Officer Nazar Siyaka, retired. Good morning to you, officer. Once an officer, always an officer. Good morning to you. Yes, thank you for joining us this morning. All right. We'll get the conversation started quickly. Officer Siyaka, INEC says the military's role in elections must remain where they are. It's under when the situation escalates, it gets very much troubling. That's when we can now bring in the military. But the primary agency in charge of electoral overseeing security-wise is the police. But if Nigerians are saying, I mean, look at the build up to the Osun State election. We already experienced violence. On the election day, is police able to handle the situation? We know the kind of aura that military uniform brings when they are on ground, as opposed to that which police brings. We're not saying that people do not respect the police, but we understand how Nigerians act to both security outfits. But from your own perspective right now, is it a right call from the INEC?
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to me to always contribute my quota to national issues, especially national security issues. Nigeria democracy continue to grow and mature, and every election presents a fresh opportunity for to strengthen our democracy institutions. So that on that note, the question should not be whether the military should dominate elections, or the question should be centered on whether the nation possess adequate security capacity to guarantee free, fair, and credible elections. This is my point, and concurrently providing a peaceful, credible election concurrently while protecting lives and property. This is my own position. And indeed, Nigeria Police Force is the leading agency when it comes to internal security. But the question to ask now is that, did our Nigerian police have possess sufficient manpower? We call it strength in the security in a security term. Does Nigerian police possess a sufficient manpower to provide security across the nation? These are one of those questions we should ask ourselves as a Nigerian before we take a decision. Then, is Nigerian police now better equipped without the collaboration of other security agencies to tackle, to conduct election? The Nigerian police, do they have that capacity to respond to distress calls whenever a crisis erupted simultaneously across the nation? These are the questions we should ask ourselves. If we can answer this question positively, then we should now decide whether police force should take care of election as it ought to be constitutionally. Indeed, we all know that Nigerian police is the leading agency when it comes to internal security, or handling of elections, and maintain law and order. Before you talk about the military own is to go to the border and protect the territorial integrity of the nation, then combat terrorism and counter-insurgency and national security at large. So we know all this one. But because of the peculiar situation we found ourselves in our own country and the history, we should not forget about the history of Nigerian elections, especially the past elections we had, the general past election we had. that presented the new president we have now. Do we have some pocket of crisis that might overwhelm or that overwhelmed our police force? All these things need to be put in place before decision should be taken. Yes, constitutionally, the INEC chairman is right for saying that I believe that he is his wish to standardize what election is all about. Election is a it's a civil democratical issues. It's not a military issue. But because of the security challenges we found ourselves in the country, now give a room for what is called joint task force. The joint task force are force that provide a synergy between all the security architecture across our national security plans in order to achieve one goal. And the one goal when it comes to election is what? To conduct free and fair and credible elections that will transform into our national democratic way of the democratic way we do our own thing in this country. So these are the questions we should ask ourselves. As far as I'm concerned, Nigeria has no right to that level because of the peculiar conditions, insecurity conditions we found ourselves presently. Now, if you said we should only allow police to take care of elections in Nigeria, how about high-risk states such as Borno State that are still facing terrorism activity? How about Sokoto State? How about Katsina State? How about some parts in Niger State that are still facing counter-terrorism, that our citizens are still facing insurgency activities, kidnapping, and all sorts of what? So all this place now, are you going to sectionalize that the military should back up, or why police should take care of the peaceful area? The best thing is to reach out to the National Security Advisor. Then the National Security Advisor, in turn, reach out to all other security architects, put hands together, and give the best advice to the National Security Advisor. Then the National Security Advisor should be the one to give the best advice to the INEC chairman or INEC body to know how to go and where to go and how to do this. No, it's not by INEC chairman alone to think, yes, it is constitutionally right. Yeah, it's constitutionally right. We know that it's constitutionally right, but it's also constitutionally right that the military should provide civil authority, should provide aid to civil authority when called upon. There's a clause there, when called upon. And in most cases, it's better to have a good plan in a way of ensuring that our elections are conducted while that you have any damage to our national security or any threat to our national security. There are plans that has been laid down before today, which I experienced. I was even part of them. I was part of security architecture or personnel that conducted election in 2000 and the last general election in Taraba State. What we did is that the leading agency, which is the police or the civil police, are the one that is in the forefront of elections. Then you give a gap for them to be complemented by civil defense. Then you give a gap. What I mean, all these plans are called layered arrangement security plan. Layered arrangement security plan. These are what is called in our security professions.
But
because
officer,
you lay them.
Officer, but why do you think INEC has now said that the police are the primary source of security for election matters? The military comes in exceptional times or exceptional routine, right? Is when maybe the situation is very much heightened. That's when we can now let the military come in. Why do you think INEC is saying this? Because the Nigerian people on one hand see that a security situation has escalated so much. So we would need the presence of the military. But why do you think INEC is on that stance?
You never can rule out his statement constitutionally. You never can rule out his statement constitutionally because him is thinking, this is my time. What can I do to give the best standard of election? And the best standard of election, we know that countries that have security stability always don't field armed military to conduct or to aid their elections. We know. So him is driving. I think the chairman is driving in this direction, which is also constitutionally right. But I am of opinion that because of the peculiar insecurity condition we found ourselves, there are so many things we should put in cognizance. For example, the ultimate objective should be protections of voters, election officials, election materials, then our democratic delegitimacy. These are the ultimate thing we should think about, not whether the election is being dominated by military or not. In my own opinion, at a balanced national, then we should also have what is called contingency plan.
All right.
What is the INEC contingency plan? Contingency plan in case the matter arises and it overwhelmed the police. What are you going to do? Are you going to be calling an impromptu distress call? So all those one has to be done by the National Security Advisor, not the ASAT. Now, it shouldn't be the INEC chairman deciding the security architecture of this forthcoming election. This is my opinion.
Thank you so much for your time on the program this morning, Officer, of course, Officer Nazar Siyaka. Thank you for your time and your contribution so far. We do hope that our elections will be safe, free and credible, and Nigerians can have a free will to get on the polls to elect their next officials in office. We appreciate your time. Enjoy your weekend.
Okay, to crown it up, we should know, politics must never be allowed to override our security realities.
Right.
This one should be a point that we should always hold beside ourselves, because if you do, it is better to be on. It is better to be proactive, or to save ourselves from erupting from crisis to erupt, than to be running helter-skelter to subdue whatever we might have caused by ourselves or by our words.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time on the program this morning. Thank you for your time, indeed.